When Daniel told me he was selling the house, it felt like someone had taken a knife and quietly cut the last thread that tied me to my father. I drove there the next day, the morning light spilling through the windows just like it always had. But everything looked different, emptier, like it already knew it didn't belong to me anymore. The smell of old wood and coffee still lingered, but it carried sadness now instead of comfort. I walked into the living room where Dad's armchair still sat, the one he used to call his thinking throne. His reading glasses were still resting on the side table, and for a second, I half expected him to walk in and ask why I looked so serious. Instead, all I heard was the ticking of the wall clock, counting down what was left of my time there. Daniel arrived a few minutes later, dressed in a suit like he was going to a meeting, clipboard in hand, his face calm, businesslike. I wanted to yell, to shake him, and ask if any of this hurt him at all, but I couldn't find the words. I just stood there clutching an old photo album, Dad holding both of us as kids, all smiles, all love, no lines, no signatures, no property documents dividing us. He started talking about logistics, movers, listings, property agents, all the practical things that sounded so cold when your whole world feels like it's melting. "You can take whatever personal stuff you want, Em," he said casually. "The rest I'll donate or store." His tone made it sound like charity, like he was doing me a favor. I nodded, too tired to argue. But when I went up to Dad's study to pack, I found something that made my heart stop. In the bottom drawer of his desk, under old bills and letters, there was a small black notebook, the kind he used to jot thoughts in when he didn't want anyone to see. I opened it and saw his handwriting, shaky, uneven, dated just 3 months before he died. It read, "Daniel says Emily doesn't care about the business anymore. Maybe he's right. She's far away, busy with her own life. Maybe he's better suited to handle things when I'm gone. But I wish she'd call more often. I miss hearing her laugh." My hands trembled as I turned the pages. More notes about hospital visits, about how Daniel insisted on handling the paperwork, about how he brought forms for Dad to sign, saying it was just for tax reasons. Something inside me clicked, something that wasn't just sadness anymore. It was suspicion and a small, sharp anger that started to grow. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about those entries. I remember Dad sounding tired on the phone one evening, saying Daniel was taking care of everything. I remembered how Daniel had avoided my questions back then, saying, "You worry too much, Em." I remembered how Dad suddenly stopped mentioning the company in our calls, as if it was off limits. I knew I couldn't just walk away, not when something didn't feel right. So the next morning, I went to the county records office, a place that smelled like paper and coffee, where time moved slower, and I asked for copies of my father's will revisions and property transfers. The clerk looked at me with polite indifference and handed me a stack of papers after checking my ID. I sat down at a small metal table and started reading, line after line, signature after signature. And then I saw it, a signature that looked too neat, too perfect, too unlike my father's usual shaky hand from his last months. I took a photo of the page, my heart racing. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it was just my grief making me see ghosts. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. When I left the office, the autumn wind hit my face like a warning, cold and sharp. I stood there in the parking lot holding the papers against my chest, realizing that this was not just a family matter anymore. This was something deeper, something legal, maybe even criminal. That evening, I sat in my small apartment surrounded by boxes from Dad's house, the notebook lying open on my table, the words echoing in my head. Daniel says Emily doesn't care. And for the first time in weeks, I spoke out loud, not to anyone, but to myself. "No, Dad, I cared. I still do, and I'm going to prove it." That was the night I decided I wouldn't let this end the way Daniel wanted. That was the night I stopped being the sister who stayed silent. That was the night I became the woman who would uncover the truth.